Hello guys, and you're welcome. So today we just created a nice little sketch on a nice Sunday. So I'm just going to pick one of these. I think I like this one on the left, based off of a tutorial, a drawing book by Christopher Hart. So I just liked and followed up the step and created a stylized character. So I'm going to pick this one and let's jump to Affinity Designer. So I'll just open up Affinity Designer and have it on the shortcut. Just take a sip of water. Nothing's better than water actually, especially when you're working. And it's taking its sweet time. Okay, good. So usually it's I like using A4. So I'll just go to File, New, and it's going to ask us for a document type. If you have presets, you'll see them here. But I'll just go to Print, and I'll select A4 and make sure it's on Portrait Orientation, and the color I'm going to set it to CMYK in case I would like to print this like on a t-shirt or whatever. So here I'm going to go to the rectangle tool or hit M, and I'll just fill this with a nice neutral background color. And what I'll do next is to change this color. So I'll go to color and drag this and just make it slightly warm like that. Now in case your interface is different, all you need to do is go to View, Studio, and then right there here at the bottom it says Reset Studio, and it should look like this. And I'll try as much as I can to keep it like this before I begin to change things. So the next thing we want to do is to import our sketch. So I'll lock this layer and I'll go to File, Place, and I'll go to the folder where I mostly keep my sketches. So it's in folder D, I call it sketches, scans, sorry. And right at the bottom, I'll just look for Sunday and hit place right here. And this should place this drawing right here. Let's just drag this. So in case it's too bright for you, and what I can do is just increase this size and make it quite large. And also I like to rotate it just like that. Just make it large, and rotate. And I think I'll leave it like that. I don't want it too squished. So how I place the paper, and I'll just drop it here, no problem. Right, so that's super nice. So what I'll do is start tracing out this character here. Now what we could do is to group this. So I'll click on that sketch layer and press Ctrl G, and right here on this circular yin yang looking button, I'll go to the levels and I'll start playing around with some settings. Let's see the output white. You can drag this to make it very uh, bright, or you can just push it away, and we could take away some of the black. You can actually see we're keeping it slightly neutral, which I usually like because I don't like having the system's brightness all in my eyes. So I'll just place this here like that. So it's only going to be affecting this group. It's not going to affect the color we have underneath for our background. And I'll just call that BG, and also lock this group, and I'll call the group sketch. So basically the group is just a box or a folder where you have multiple sketches and drawings and whatever you have. Now the character space is super wide, so I'll take that into consideration when I'm recreating this design. I don't want it to be as wide as this. And also for zooming in and out, this is my trusty and handy tool. It's the navigator, and I just tore it out of there. For instance, if I want to pull out the history, I can just drag it and it's there. If I want to put it back and dock it together, let's say I want the navigator and history to be together, they'll just be together like that. So, but I just want to remove this, and we can even close it. If for any reason you need to bring back a window you've closed, just go to your view And right here on Studio, you can actually see everything. So like if I click the history, it's going to bring the history back. But I'll close it because I'm not using the history for now. So what I'll do next is start creating the vector lines that describe the shape of the character. It's not necessarily to use the pen tool. You can use a combination of any shape you want to use. But for now, I'll just start using the ellipse. So it doesn't have a fill and doesn't have a stroke. So I'll click on the stroke, set it to fully black, and I'll set this to 3 points. So that's going to be the thickness of this line. So it's going to be 3 points. It's bringing in a fill. So to quickly get rid of the fill, hit the slash key on your keyboard. You can always go up and then click on this white ellipse, white circle with the diagonal red line, and it should be good to go. Now, if I wanted to manipulate these points, I can't do that yet. I need to hit convert to curves. Now you can see we have a nice little curve. We can click on these curve handles and begin to manipulate the shape. You can see we have Bezier handles here. So I'll just tilt this a bit, and you can hold Alt if you want to tilt the lines angle like that. And I want this to be a smooth curve. So I'll just hit this here. So we have a nice little smooth curve. And I can hold Alt and begin to drag this and give our character some nice little shape like that. So over here, oops, I just want to do that. I'll click over here and let's drag this to the right. This is going to be covered by the hair, by the way, so might not necessarily need to keep everything in extreme detail. And I'll just make the face slightly thin. And that's it. We have that nice little curve for the face. Now, the chin is looking weird. So I'll switch over or press A to go to the node tool. And I'll just drag this a bit like that. Okay, cool. So next we can do the eyes. So to do that, let's just click on our ellipse tool again and just draw a nice little shape. And we just rotate that shape till it matches. Now we need to zoom in a little bit. I'm using the navigator to zoom in, and I'll just try to align this shape to this shape. And I'll hit convert to curves. Switch over to the node tool, click this point and just drag it over here. Now this is thicker, so I'll set this to, let's say 1.8. I think 1.8 is not bad. And what I can do is to make this a bit curvy like that. So now that we have that, we can select this shape, press V, hold Control and Shift, and then click and drag. And because there's some slight perspective here, we can make this eye a bit bigger, or we can leave it like that. It's no problem. So next, let's create the black parts of the eye, pupil. So I'll go over here and click the fill, the marquee tool, and then hit a fill. I'll use the same fill. And what I want to do is just draw a nice little circle like so. Hold Control and click, and press V and do the same. So I'll just hold Control and Shift. And what it does is to duplicate or create a copy of that shape. I'll just drag this down, twist a little bit, just to see how it is. So now if we want this shape to be clipped within the eyes, so I'll click this one and then drag to the right, like so. And we can select that. And it's actually hiding. So why is it doing that? Let's see. Let's try it for this eye. Oh, good. So I actually put it on the wrong eye shape. So this is supposed to be here, not on that eye. So good. So I could just drag this and pull it and shape it till we get a nice little representation. So it's going to be masked. So that's for the, and let's name this. So we're going to call this eye underscore left. And here, let's do the same. So I'll just drag this and I'll try and make the eyes the same. let's see. Okay, we don't have that same shape, so I'll just pull this and make sure it's filled a bit. Okay, good. I think you're quite similar. So I'll call this the eye underscore right, like that. So we have left eye, the right eye, and let's quickly do the nose shape. So to do the nose shape, I can use the pen tool. So I'll just press P for the pen tool, and it's on 1.8. I think I'll leave it at 1.8, and I'll create only 3 points. I'll get rid of the fill, so I'll go to the fill and click this. Now we don't have a fill, and I'll quickly jump over to the node tool and just pull this here and pull this down here. So let's zoom in a bit on the nose using the navigator to find the nose's position, and let's just see what we have here. Hey, it's not too bad. It's very good. And that's our character's nose. So let's do the same here with the pen tool. So I'll hit the pen tool and just draw a single line and go back to the node tool and pull it up like that. And try to make sure it aligns and matches. All right, cool. So let's do the lip. So I'll switch over to the pen tool and click over here and 4. So let's hit our node tool, and I'll just drag this point, drag this one down a bit, and then go over here and just drag this. Now here's looking too mechanical, so let's hit that, and let's just pull this edge and drag this line down. I think we're good with the upper lip. So let's do the lower lip. So I'll click the upper lip and I'll hide it. And for the lower lip, since we have the upper lip full line, we'll just use one single line for that. So I'll start from here. 1, 2, and 3. So I'll go over to the node tool and just pull this and make sure this point is smooth. I'll just drag this and drag this up like that. I believe we can use this line here, and I can hold Alt and try to just make this. Okay, I think that's a bad idea. I'll leave it like that. So I'll bring back this upper lip and I'll put this on top. So the lower lip is at the bottom. I can always adjust each of this. So let's quickly group these so that it doesn't become very complex and we see the line curve everywhere. So I'll click this curve, which is the upper lip, hold Control, click the second curve, and I'll say Control G, and I'll call that lips. Apologies, my neighbor's dog is, I think he's hungry, and he's not being nice. So let's click this curve for the nose, click the second one, and let's group them together using Control G, and I'll call this the nose. So yeah, so you can see we have group things and it makes sense. So let's click on the right eye group and the left eye group again, and let's create a main group for the subgroups, and let's just call that eyes. So let's zoom out a bit. Now zoom in, you can use the navigator to zoom in and out, or you can use this zoom tool. You can hit Z, and if you drag left and right, you can zoom. That works. I believe you can also use Control plus and Control minus on the keyboard. And to get a shortcut for the quick views, you can press 1. This would actually hide content. Or you can press 0 to actually show content. So 1, opacity at 10, and then 0, opacity back to 100. So the keyboard shortcuts, you can use, take advantage of them. If you hold spacebar, you can pan around. But with the navigator, the panning, you just click anywhere and pan. You can drag left and right to zoom. And if you pan the top right, you're going to be at the top right. Click the top left, you're at the top left, bottom right, center. So that's why I really like using the navigator. It quickly helps me just jump around rather than use shortcut keys and tools, so that your hand can have a little break when you're working. So let's create the brows right here. So I'll use the pen tool, click here and drag. So we have the brow, and let's make it thick. So I'll set the brow to about 4.2, like that, about 3.8, sorry. So let's do the same thing for this brow. So I'll click over here. Oops. Now, if you want to finish the creation, just hold Control and click, and you're done. And I'll go over here and click here and then drag over here. Now, you notice something here. This eyebrow isn't really a solid single shape. It tapers. So I'll show you how you can create a nice little taper effect. For example, if we click on the curve and go over here, we can go to the pressure and we can begin to do things like drag this down. If I drag this down, it means the tip of our stroke is going to be sharp. So I want the end to be sharp. So I'll go over here and then click and drag. So you can actually see that happening. So let's add a point here at the center and then drag the end. You can actually see we have some of that tapering going on. And I'll save this profile. So we have that profile. So if I click on this curve, I'll just hold Control and click on this curve. If I go over here and go to the properties, I can click on a profile and you can see we have that profile applied to the curve. So it's a nice little way of having a nice tapered brush. And if for any reason you need to save this, you can click on that, right click on it, and then say create style. So if you go over to styles here, you can actually see this style right here has been created, and you can see a variety of pre-built styles I have here. I'll just leave this at this style, which is not the style we made. So I'll just click that. And I actually lost the style. So I'll go to Window, I'll go to our view and bring back our history. And Studio, Window, go to Studio, and then go to History. And let's just drag this. Let's go to Clear Selection, and I think we should be good to go. All right, so let's try to work on. Sorry, just 1 second. I need to close my windows because this puppy is not being nice. So 1 second. All right, so let's see. So what do we create next? Let's create the ear. And I'll use the pen tool. So I'll go back to the layers group. And these are brows. So let's group them together. So I'll click the first one, hold Control, click the second one, and I'll say Control G. And I'll double click. And I'll say browse. So let's work on the ear. So I'll click on, and I can, let's go to the fill, no fill, but let's set the stroke to black. And let's set this to, I believe we used 3 points. So let's click on the face just to be sure we are working with 3 points. So I'll hold Control and click, and that's it. It's 3 points. So I'll go over to the pen tool, hold Control and click away at an empty space, and I'll just create the ear shape. And I'll go over to the node tool and kind of pull this right here till it matches and lines up. So I'll drag this down here and then pull it like that till we have the ear shape. So let's create this curve inside. I'll still use the pen tool, click and drag, hold Control and click that, and then I'll click and drag in this direction to get that shape. And we'll hold this, click this, hold Shift and click this one, and we'll press Control G and call it ears. So what did I just do right now? I think that's not the spelling of ears. So what did I just do right now? So let's just try out the pen tool. So if you click, you can draw straight lines with the pen tool. If you click and then click without releasing and drag, you can draw a curve. So if I click again like that, I have this curve. If I want to continue drawing, it's now on this red point. I need to click, say, here. Good. So now if I drag a point, you can see I'm continuing the drawing from there. So that's how the pen tool works. Let's just delete that and delete the shape as well. So we have the ears. Let's work on the neck. So I'll just create, or let me start from here and then go around. Because if I do this, it's going to continue drawing from there. So I'll control and click this point, which means I want to continue drawing from there. So let me start over from the top. I think it's not bad. So let's switch over to the node tool, and we can just drag this edge and drag this edge like that. Like that. So let's create the shape for the skin around the neck. Let's just do this. And I'll just close that shape. I think it's virtually straight, but we can make it slightly organic by just adding a little curve around. I'll just drag this here. And drag this here as well. I might not necessarily need this point, so we'll just delete that. Okay, I'll bring it back. Changing my mind. So it's looking too weird, so I'll just delete it and start over again. In fact, I'm just going to make the points only from here and just stop right here. Now what I can do is hold control and drag this down a bit. Same thing here, and I'll push this here and slightly push this here. And finally, I'm going to create this shape for the fabric using the pen tool. And the neck is going to cover everything, so we don't need to necessarily close it. So I'll just click and drag over here, click and drag, and I can hold Alt and reduce this, and then I can just click and drag over here to close this shape. You can hold Control, click on that node, and have it right here. So next, let's work on our hair. So I'm going to have a front here and then a little back here, and that's it. Let's create this nice back here curve. So I'll click here, click, and create a nice triangle. And then head over to the node tool and drag this. Push this here. We're good. Like that. Let's create this front hair shape. I'll use the same technique. Just try to create something quite polygonal at first. And then once we go around, we can always create our triangle shape back. Just start here, like that, here, and then back here. So let's use our node tool and begin to adjust and get nice, awesome curves. I'll drag this over here. And we can go as accurately as we need to go. We can keep it simple. It depends. Doesn't matter. And I'll drag this here like that. And I'll push this out. So you notice the line has a little curve around here. So I'll click this and make it smooth. It might look like it destroyed it. Don't worry. We'll just drag everything in and put it right back where it's supposed to be. Just like that. We'll do the same thing here and make this smooth. And we can just drag our curve. And let's move around. And still drag our curve to make it match up and line up and become super smooth. You can even pull this one up. These handles, pull them up till they sort of match and line up. So let's group things properly because we have a few lines that are just flying around and we don't know what those lines are. So this is our hair back, hair back. Okay, I have a shortcut called BCK. And this is going to be our front. I should be spelling properly. So front, just get a sip of water. Nourishing. And yeah, we forgot this one. So let's just drag this. And the reason why it's sort of tricky because now I could choose this point here, but I'm going to lose that nice little curvy detail I have here as additional curves. So one here and one here. So for the hair front, what we're going to do is just create these additional lines just to make this line up. So I'll just use the pen tool, create a nice short point here, and then hold Control and click. And I'll do the same thing here, like that. Hold Control and click. And so let's call this hair. So this is the neck shape, and there are two ways you can select actually. So if I hold Control and Shift, I can select this shape. Shift, I think it's Alt. So good. So if I hold Control and Shift, I can select the curves directly from the drawing, and I know that makes up the neck. So I'll do a Control G, and I'll call that the neck. And one cool thing about grouping is you can hide everything. So let's hide all those lines we've created now, and we'll be left with the ones we haven't grouped yet. So you can actually see we have the hair. So for the hair front, it's going to be a separate group, but the hair back, let's group them separately. So this is going to be the, I'll do Control G. I'll say hair underscore front, and this is hair back. So let's select hair back and hair front, Control G, and let's call it hair. Now let's bring everything back because it's all going to look super weird. So we have a floating curve here. We'll just call this our face. We'll call that face. So there's another thing we need to really look at. And yeah, before we run away and start doing any complex things, we forgot the lashes. So for the lashes, let's just zoom in the eyes and let's create some nice, cool looking triangular lashes. Now you can notice what's happening here. We have our pixel art, our sketch, right, which just comes in like that. And we can just zoom out and see our lines without the sketches, but we have our sketch coming in just like that. And you can see it has pixelated if we zoom in. So that's what's happening over there. But let's quickly create our lashes. So I'll have one here. And I'll create another one here. So let's do that for the left side. Oops. Hold Control and click. So click and drag like so. You can hold Control to adjust size. And let's just zoom out to make sure we're doing the right thing here. So we can click and we can drag like that. We're supposed to have 40 lashes. So I'll click on this one. We'll Control and click these three. Group them together. And let's call them lashes. And the lashes, we can drag them into the eyes group as well. So here on the eyes group, you can see the lashes. We can tear this out and drag it so we have a very long view. So the lashes, the eyes, eye left and right are in this group. And we have the eyes. Let's zoom out. can create a nice little shadow here and clip that to the neck. So let's go to the neck group and click on this neck shape. And with the pen tool, let's just draw a nice little triangle like so. What we can do is fill that and let's clip that to the neck. So what's doing is it's masking that shape. So if I click away, you can click on this and you can see how what we have there. I'll just make this smooth. I'll drag it over here and then drag this. And this is not going to go out of our neck group. But remember, our neck is going to be behind the face. And that's going to be prominent when we start adding the flats. So let's do that real quick. So let's go to the face. And right now, what I'll do is start creating some nice colors. Can we drop this here? And before we get ahead of ourselves, let's go to File and Save. Always save. And I'll call this Toon F, Toon Female. That's it. So we've saved this. In case any crashes happen, we're safe now. It's supposed to be the first thing we've done. So here, make sure you're on color and you can start selecting any color you want to make your character's face. Being undecisive, I think this is fine. You can always change it later on. So I'll go over to the HSL values. I'm using 30, 50, and 73. If you want to type this in manually instead of just dragging here to guess, go over here and click on sliders. And you can see HSL sliders here and you can type in the numbers manually. So that helps. So you can use this to select your colors. If I go back to the wheel, I can use the wheel to select the color. And once I'm happy with a color, I'll use HSL to put that color. Now to select the color for the neck, let's go to the neck and click on the neck group. Let's make sure we're working with the right tool here. Excuse me. All right, good. So this is the group I want, and I'll hit the eyedropper tool and click on the neck and slightly make this a bit pinkish. So now we have that fill for the neck, and you can see what's happening. Let's just zoom out a bit. Our neck is, actually our neck is in front of the face. We can drag it down and make sure it's behind the face so it's masked. Not like that. Basically, we just want to drag it underneath the face group and release it there so it's behind the face and we're no longer seeing the content there. So if I click on this and turn it off, you can see we have our face hiding behind there. So next, what we want to do is to work on our hair. So if I go to the hair group and select the hair front, I'll use the transform or the node tool. So I'll select the hair front from this large shape, not the details, but the large shape. I can select a nice color for the hair. So yeah, I think this brown is not bad. Like that. We can try black if that works well, but I'll just leave it at this reddish brown. So the HSL value is 214616. Again, if you want to type in manually, go to the sliders and make sure this is on HSL, not RGB hex, but HSL. And if you're a hex person, we can use RGB hex. So the hash value is 3B2315. But I'll move this to HSL, which is for hue, saturation, and lightness. And you can see how we can change this value. So I'll just leave it at this. So I've made my L, the lights, to 23. Like that. And let's select the hair back. And since this is behind, I'll use the same color for the hair front. So I'll hit the eyedropper tool and hit this. But since it's at the back, I'll just darken this up a bit by pushing S up and then dragging V back. So the new HSL value is 1870.15 for the hair back. And what I want to do is to put the hair back behind the face. So unfortunately, our hair back has to go out of this group and go behind the face, right? So that's why we have a floating hair strand right here. If we click away, use our transform tool and click away, you can see what we have. We have our hair here, and let's bring back our ears. So let's fill up our ears rather. So I'll select this curve, this one, and let's use the same color for the face. So I'll select this and select that. And what we want to do is to drag this ear to be right in front of the face, just right here like that. And I'll select the entire ear group, use the transform tool, and then move it a bit downwards like that. So here's where we can start working on our character's face by adjusting some of the facial features. If I click on the face shape, I can start dragging this just to make the face slightly smaller, because for some reason, honestly, I'm not gonna lie to you, it's too wide and looks weird. So I'll just adjust the face and adjust all the other features. So that's one thing we can do. So let's go to the hair and let's adjust the hair as well. So I'll just drag this up a bit and drag this to the right so it matches with the face a little bit. And then let's go to the ears and we'll just drag the ears. We can put the ears in front, so let's drag it out. That hair group is going to look weird right now. I'll just leave it there and slightly make it a bit bigger like that. And our hair back, we'll just drag it over here like that. And for our neck is looking a bit off. We'll drag it here and just place it like that. So basically we just adjusted our design. Now the eyes need to have the whites, and then the brows, I want the brows to still show when they're up here. So I'm going to click on the brows. So let's go over here. Or let's go to the brows group and we'll put that above the hair shape like that. So now what happens is we can see this brow. So for the eyes, let's click on the eyes, and here on our eye right, let's click on the ellipse, the eye right group, and let's set the value to, let's just brighten that a little bit. Not 100% because that'll be too weird. So let's just drag it down a bit and add a little bit of color here. Like that. Or if you wanted to make this quite unique, let's use the same color as the skin and then begin to brighten that up a little bit. Yeah. So the HSL value is 30, 53, 81. That's what I'm using for the eyes, the whites of the eye, and I think that's let's try. Okay, I've put it to 85 now. I feel 85 is a nice value, but whatever you do, don't bump it up to 100, please. It won't look nice, except you want to create a special feature or some special effects. So let's do the same. So I'm on the eye right now. If I turn off that, I'm on the eye right group, left eye group, and I'll just click on this. Now you can see we have the same color, which is nice. So let's work on the neck section. These little fills we have here, let's just fill them up with a nice color. So this curve, so again, if you're trying to select anything from anywhere, just go over here and click. We can select this shape and this shape. So here, let's give it the skin color. I'll select this one. And for the fabric, let's select that shape. Let's select something nice like that. And now this needs to go out of this group because this is not part of the neck. It's just a fabric and we want it to be above, below the neck. rather. So let's just place it here. And also part of our shoulder, I'm trying to see where we can place this. I think it's not bad there. I think it's nice over here. So we'll just leave it at that. And then for the shadow underneath the neck, it's too, how do I call it? It's too dark for that shadow. So I'll use the same hair color. And what I'll do is to dial down the opacity. So this is just a nice little trick to indicate we have some shade somewhere. Oops, I accidentally clicked. I'm still on the eyedropper tool, so I'll move over to our move tool. And you can see we have that nice little shape right there. Now the chin is still looking somewhat weird. So I'll add a point here and begin to play around with that point. Like that. I like that. So let's go to the hair. Make sure I've selected the hair and then pull that back a little bit. Like that. And I believe part of the ear should be showing here. So let's go to the ears group. If we want, this is optional. So I'll do a Control J on the ear and I'll drag this ear outside and behind the hair over here like that. And I'll flip it and I'll just drag this over here. And it should be behind the face like that. So it's behind the face actually. And what I'll do is to just do some slight perspective to show that it's a little bit behind it. So I'll just drag this and kind of like chip it and hide it in. In fact, let's push it further in like that. So we have a little bit of the ear showing. And for the lips, let's add a little fill for the lips. I'll go over to the lips, I'll click the upper lip, and let's select a nice little fill there. So now it's not showing because the fill is empty. So let's click on the fill and click any nice color. So I've selected the lip color. So what I'll do is use HSL and just, well, it's actually, we have the stroke. Let's get rid of the stroke. We don't need the stroke. Let's just work with the fill. And we'll just drag the lightness. It's being naughty right now. So let's get rid of this. So it's the fill I want to work on. Okay, I'm terrible trying to get a nice little lipstick color. So I think I'll stick to this. Yeah, so light pink isn't bad. Purple, light purple isn't bad. So I'll go to the lower lip and then apply that same fill color. But the lower lip needs to be different. So make sure I'm on the shape. We can get rid of the stroke and let's, sorry, I need to get rid of the stroke. So I'll no stroke and then go to the fill. Make sure we're on the fill. Now we can darken the lip color just a bit, just to show that slight difference. So it's the same purple. So I need to zoom in. It's actually the same purple, but we've darkened the purple color like that. So let's compare this with our original design. So with everything, I'll just collapse every group. And then from the neck, I'll hold shift, click the browse, press Ctrl G, and I'll call that M. And we can turn it off. And now you can see how we've added some subtle little details over there. Though I've changed our design a bit, but I actually like the new one. Just made a few corrections like that. So next, what can we do to improve this? Now, if this was for like a cartoon, I think it's totally fine for a cartoon. But what we can do is to add a little bit of more details to make this look totally awesome. And what I noticed is these two little effects we created here. These ones, they are a bit distracting. So let me just go ahead and zoom on them and see how we can make it really fit. Just to move it around, rotate a little bit, shrink the size. It's on 3 points. Let's try this. And let's move it a little bit like that and click away. Yeah, I think that's fine. And let's move over to the other one, which is this one here. So we can just click on that and zoom in. Use the move tool to find it. And rotate a little bit. And just drag it and place it here. Just a nice little trick. Right, so we were seeing how we can improve this design. So one way to do that is to create variations for the stroke, which is an awesome way to do that. So let's do that. Let's click on our face shape and let's go to this line. We can bump the width to about, say, 5. And here underneath the pressure, I'll add a point here, another point here. And I want to see what's happening to the design. So I'll go over here and let's jump in again. And let's adjust some of these points. So we're making the edge over there a bit thinner, like that, like that. So I'll save this profile as the third profile. So now let's go to the neck. Okay, that shape. And let's use this profile on the neck. And with that profile, let's just increase the size just to make it a bit unique. All right, cool. Let's do that for the hair as well. And let's double click on the hair to make sure we selected it. If you did it properly, you should see the fill and stroke you used. So let's go to the pressure and use this profile and bump the profile up a bit. I think that's too much. Okay, I think that's fine. And I'll use the same for the fabric and the neck curve as well. So first, I'll just bump this up a little bit. And let's select this profile so we have that curve. And then next, I'll select this one. Do the same, bump it up a little bit. I think I might have overdone it, but yeah, that's just there. Let's try it for the nose to see if it will be a good fit. So for the nose curve, I'll select this one. Let's zoom in a bit. Not too much. And then over here. So now it gives it that nice little sharp edge. So let's do that here. Now let's bump this up a little bit. Like that. So I actually got rid of the stroke. I think I like to bring it back. So I'll use a dark stroke here. And then here, I'll still bring the stroke back. So I'll use this for the stroke. And let's make it slightly, let's use the same color. So if you go to swatches, it will keep a history of the swatches you used, and that's a nice little handy tool. So for the shadow, I notice I have a stroke turned on for that shadow. So I'll just turn it off because we don't need that. It makes it look weird. I think this is actually better. And what I want to do is add a little clavicle bone here. I think it'll make our character stand out. So I'll make sure I'm on this right here and then use the pen tool and then create one, hold control, two. So we actually have them there. We can't see them. They're hiding because there's no stroke. So let's bring back the stroke. We'll use a black stroke. I'll use a black stroke for you as well. Black stroke. I'll just drag this. Oops. So I'll go over to the node tool and just drag this edge. Drag it down a bit. Drag this edge. Drag it down a bit. And we'll get rid of the fill for both lines. No fill. I'll just click away. I think that's nice. Maybe you might need to rotate it a bit. So I'll go to use the transform tool and drag like that. Rotate it like that. Whoops, we're moving the neck. It's part of this, I think they're called clavicles. Why do you keep moving? Okay, I'll just click it from here. Okay, so part of these clavicles. Like that. So cool, that's too much rotation. Here, good. So I still believe we can push this design and make it quite interesting. There are two ways we can do that. If we zoom in right now, you can actually see we have this curve. I can go to the brushes and go to pencils and look for a nice textured little pencil brush. And see we can add some texture to our design, but I'm just going to leave it as it is with these vector lines. So what we want to do now is add a little shading to our character, add some highlights, and then we can call our character done. We also need to create a background for our character. All right, so to do that, let's just zoom out. And I'd like to add some shading to the side. I think I have a visitor. My daughter's here. Hi, Mimi. Big hug. Big hug. No big hugs for daddy. Okay. Big hug. Okay, so let's let's go on. So for this face, I'd like to add a little shadow here. Okay, that's it. Bring the insecticide. She's trying to play with insecticide. Okay, you got the tortoise. Okay, fine. I'll bring it. Thank you. Bring it, please. Can I have it, please? Ants. Okay. Okay, that one. Tortoise. Very good. So she found the insecticide and she's trying to kill a tortoise running around the room. Let me pause this and stop a war from happening. Okay, so after preventing a war from happening, we're back. Now these lips, I don't like how. I'll just try to put the stroke to be the same color, like that, and also for the lower lip, I'll just try to set the stroke to be black as well, just for uniformity and harmony around the character. So I'll add some lights and shadows just to bump up the edges of this character. So for here, for the face, I'll create a nice little curve like that. And I'll make sure that's clipped to the face or masked to the face. And for the fill, I'll use a nice pink tone, this one. And it's not really showing, so I'll go to the color and try to, oh, sorry, That's the stroke color. I want to change the fill color to something really bright, like that. And we'll get rid of the stroke. We don't need the stroke here. Stroke and fill. Yeah, I think that's not bad. So I'll go over to the node tool and try to just make this look quite nice. So these will represent really nice highlights. And then for the shadows, I think I like this shadow color. So I'll use that to create a shadow shape for the nose. So I'll use the pen tool and create a nice little triangle. I'll sample this color. And I'll just get rid of the stroke. And for the fill, I'll sample that color for the fill. And all we'll do is zoom in a little bit and adjust that. Looks super weird. And let's try to clip that to the nose. So I'll go to the nose group and select this and try to drag this and clip it like that. And what we can do is just lower the opacity. I just place it down here like this and look at it. It's not looking like the best, but and I'll just leave the nose as it is. I don't think this is helping in any way. So let's duplicate this shape. So I'll do a Control J. And I just experimented with the nose, and you're going to be doing a lot of experimenting actually. And that doesn't seem to work well for what I want. So here I'll just drag this and place this here like some form of shadow, and I'll use the eyedropper tool to sample this color and dial down the opacity just a bit because I don't want it to be too strong. Full control here, and let's press V to move to the transform tool and click away. For the highlights as well, let's just dial this down a bit. And I still don't trust that color I'm using for the highlights. I believe this is better to move it towards blue like that and bump it up a bit. Yeah, good. That looks like a nice highlight color. And I set the opacity 70, 69, 70. I think that's not bad. So for the head, for the hair, especially around the hair, let's create some nice little shadow shapes around the hair, like to show there's some cast shadow behind it. So I'll just use the pen tool, create a nice simple triangle shape. Use the eyedropper tool to sample the shape. Make sure I don't have a stroke. And I'll make sure I clip that to the face as well. Or we can clip that to the hair. Like that. So we're clipping this to the hair group. And we'll use the node tool to move this around so it looks something like that. So this is just indicating that we have a nice little shadow for the hair. And what we'll do is dial down the opacity. Like that. I don't think that's bad. So I'll duplicate this using Control J and use V, the transform tool, to move that around. Place this one here, and let's duplicate that again. So I'll do Control J, make sure I select this, and press Control J to duplicate that, and then drag it and rotate, and just push it down a bit, like that, like so. And we'll add one more here. So I'll select this first one, duplicate, and move it around like that. I'll put my layers here and drag my navigator over here so I can see what I'm working with. And my neighbor's dog is back again. Really sorry about that noise. So, and also I'd like to add some of this to the ears. And looking at this, like I said, you're always going to see something wrong later on. Now, this fill we're using, I believe something more, yeah, something like that won't be bad. So how do I make all these changes together? That's simple. Let's click on this, hold Control, this and this. I'll hit the eyedropper tool and I'll sample this color. And you can see they all have that color as well. Let's make this one on the face have that same color as well. So I'll click on this. Make sure I'm selecting it. And I'll use the eyedropper tool. So I'll hit eye and then sample one of these. And I believe this pinkish tone is actually better. And let's see what value that is. It's 1234.61 for HSL. 1234.61. And I believe I can make this one have that same tone as well. So hit the eyedropper tool and click on this. Oh, we actually clicked on the neck. And let's see if that happy accident really helped out. So let's go to our view, studio, and let's look for our history. Bring it back and let's click on this set fill. I think this is not bad for the neck. If we look at this, maybe the neck is hiding away from the lights. And to do that, let's go to this layer as well. And let's sample this one. So you can actually see. So most likely, let's say the neck is away from the light. So the head is blocking the neck. So we're actually having the skin change a slight tone. But I believe that's sort of much. So let's quickly undo that and try something else. We can try dragging and having a nicer, let's undo that. And let's just drag this backwards a bit. Yeah, to 67. I don't think that's bad. So we'll use the eyedropper tool to sample this. And I think we can see we have a nice little color variation there. And for the head, we can add a little shine here using the same value. So let's do that real quick. So I'll use the pen tool and create a nice little curve like that. And close this curve. So what I'll do is to take this curve and group that with the hair front. So we'll just drag this out. So we see our hair front. And let's clip this to the hair front group. I believe it's this one, the main group outside. So let's really see what we're doing here. So I'll select this. So sorry, it's this shape. It's front, not hair front. So I'll drag this and clip this to front. Now that we've clipped it, let's change the color. Let's sample this color that we used for the highlights. And we can scale this down a bit. It's to, and then we can make it curvy. Over here and then drag this one like that. And we can rotate it. Let's tilt it up a bit like that. So in our hair front, we now have a nice little highlight. We can reduce that layer's opacity like that. And we could add a little effect to block out this shape. So I'll just duplicate this and I'll drag this and clip it underneath this guy. So it's actually the same shape, but I'll drag this and make it thinner. And I should set this layer to erase, and that should hide some of that. And because it has a stroke, I'll get rid of the stroke. We can do the same with the main one. So we'll get rid of the stroke. We only have a fill. And because we've set this to like 70, so let's go to this one and I'll set this 100. Like that. So we just play around with this. It looks like he's wearing a hat. I'll just hide this. I don't like that. And in case that's not working, remember we can always hide things and keep them away. And let's work on adding a nice little gradient to show better lighting effects. And to do that, I'll go over to the face shape and I'll hit the gradient tool and just drag a nice little gradient like that. And I'll just drag this over here. So what this is doing is adding a nice little, effect on the face. And what I can do is to go to these effects and I can set them to multiply. Let's go over and check multiply. So this is going to make sure that we can see through our lighting effect, which we just created right now. So you can see the face has a nice little gradient we can always work with. And we can do some very complex stuff, but that's going to be for another tutorial. So let's do that to the hair. So the hair front, our main hair front shape, add a nice little gradient. And it's going to use a monochromatic gradient. So I'll just drag this and kind of like pull this here. So you can see we have, as it goes away from this light. And the cool thing we can do now is that we can set the start color. Because I rotated the gradient, so this is going to be our start color. I can use something nice and cool. Let's use some of that highlight color like that. And then this is going to be our end color. So we can use something quite dark for the hair. So now we have a little light to dark, and we can add a middle if we wanted. We can add a middle color with a separate color entirely, just to make the character's hair super funky. And if that's too much, we can always dial down the opacity and you can see what's happening there. So this middle point, I don't need it, I'll delete it. I just want to work with a nice monochromatic tone. And then I think the neck too. So let's go to the neck. This curve that defines the neck curve. This one. And the thing is, if we apply that gradient, we need to apply the gradient to this curve too. So I'll go to the gradient tool and just drag a nice little gradient here. Drag this out. And I'll just dial this down over here till it's barely visible. And let's do that for our curve here. Let's dial it down. Till it becomes barely visible as well. So we can go over here, our start color. We can set our end color to look. Let's use the eyedropper tool and set our end color to this. So we have a blend color that looks like this color. So we can always go back to that tool and make our adjustment if we want. All right. And I'll just drag this here. Like that. And we can make it more orangey if we want. Okay, and then let's look at the fabric because we haven't really done anything to this fabric. I'll just drag this down here and make the start color a bit pronounced. Like that. I think we might bring back that little purple on the hair, but I think that's enough. So what we can do now is add a nice little background for our design, and we can also make everything large. And I notice this ear is still using an old color we sampled. So let's go back, select that ear, and let's use this one for the ear. Let's select this ear as well, the left ear, and use the same color. So I'll use the eyedropper tool to sample this just to make that different. And what we'll do now is let's zoom back. And which one is this? Okay. So I'll select this entire group and use the transform tool and zoom out of our document. And let's just make this quite large like that. And this is going to make sure that our design just matches up with the document size. So it's going to be quite nice and large. So we'll just zoom in and see what we have right now. Okay, cool. And what we can also do is while we're doing that, if we go to the brushes, let me just undo everything and show you what I mean. So under the brushes, we can use this tool. And it's evading me right now, but I want to check the scale with brush size option. And basically, if you're doing that, if you're scaling, it's going to scale everything in the same size. I'll just drag this and drag that and drag this one as well. So we have a nice little color here. And what we can do now is to create a background. So we can turn this off. Now you can see we have a background initially. So what I'll do is go back to that background, click this unlock, and we can lock our design layer. And what I can do is to use this and then drag from top to bottom. And we can always change our start colors. So this color, I'll just use something nice like that. And then our end color, use something much more like that. And just to bump it up. Or we can use a plain white color or a dark one. So these are, I kind of like this. And we can just go from our start, a little design, our start. Now we have a character here. And right before we go, we could add a little earrings, and I need to adjust these ears. Okay, it's locked, so you won't select it. You could adjust the ears to fix it, like that. And we could create some nice pearly earrings. Just test something out. And here we can change the color to flats. I believe I was an ingredient, that's why it picked it. So I'll go over here. Pick our fill. And we can change this to a solid color fill. Let's make this slightly gold. And I'll duplicate that using Ctrl J. And I'll just drag that over here. Like so. And let's add our highlights on our character. So I'll use this. And highlights usually show around the nose. Zoom in. Definitely we won't use that color. Let's use some nice little whites like that. And move this. And dial down the opacity. Just to make it quite subtle. And we'll add another one on the lip. So move this guy and place one here and kind of squish it. So I'll zoom in. And this one's opacity we can really increase, and we'll add a little one just beside it. So I'll just, I duplicated that, and look, it's looking super weird. I'll just drag this over here. I want it to be really small in comparison to this one. Okay, it's not working for me. It's not really working. So I'll just turn that off. And let's dial this down a bit. Yeah, I think it's okay now. All right. And this one here is too distracting as well. So we'll just make sure it's there and it's barely visible. All right, great. So we can improve our design by making it have a little flat tone like that. Whoops. All right. So I think we can call this done. Let's just move things around. Close this entire group. I'll Control G this and group it. Call it rings. Rings in air. Over here. And one more thing we could add, and I promise that's the last one. I'm not doing anything more again. Just wanted to add on this ring and ear, Let's duplicate this twice, 1, 2, and move one here, and move the other one here too. So we're moving these two here, here. And I think I'll make these ones a bit brighter than the lips. I think about 54%. Let's get back here. 50. I think yeah, this is not too bad. Let's try bringing back our hair one more time. The effect we had for the hair front. Sometimes if you have an effect and it's too annoying, it could simply be because it's too bright. So we could just set that and see that it's not looking too scary actually. Right. And we could add one more cut here. So I'll duplicate that and move this around like that. Make sure this is away. And we can adjust this if you don't want that weird looking shape. We can just make this bigger. Or we could use the node tool and make the shape not have that like that. Totally fine. And that's it. So with all the distractions, hopefully it wasn't too noisy for you. And thanks very much for watching. See you in the next tutorial.